having some of the, thanks, Kathy. Then we'll move to having the 4 aligned projects and another project that's working with FishSCORE present some of their work in very small detail right now, with the idea of a little bit of a teaser, and we'll be starting a seminar series in November that will provide a lot more time to each project to learn more about their work. We'll then move to breakout groups where we'd love to hear more from you about questions that you have about things that were presented, and how you might want to be involved in the program moving forward. And then we'll wrap up with a full Q&A with the whole group. So for those just joining, welcome, and please introduce yourself in the chat and where you are, what you do, and what your interest in the program might be. And we'll go ahead and get started. So I'll turn it over to Kathy Mills, who is one of our PIs.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us this morning, or whatever time of day it is for you in your location. So I'm Kathy Mills. I am a fisheries ecologist and a scientist at the Gulf of Maine Research Institute. Kristen Kleisner and I are sort of program co-leads for the FishSCORE program. Kristen is at EDF and was not able to join us today, but is very active in shaping the program. And Claire has introduced herself as our program manager, but I wanted to make you aware of 3 other folks who we might get a couple on this call: Jacob Urich at EDF, and Kat Maltby and Kanai Tokunaga here at GMRI, who are part of the sort of core coordinating group. We're also really lucky to have a few members of our advisory board with us today. I've seen Andy Rosenberg and Vivian Solis Rivera. Not sure if Mark Dickey Collis is on, but thank you all for your contributions too. So just to start, Claire, can you advance the slide? Sorry, I just realized I don't have control. All right, I'm going to start with a little bit of background just to set the stage for why we moved forward with developing the FishSCORE program. So as I'm sure everyone on this call is aware, climate change is having major impacts on our oceans around the world. As we have emitted greenhouse gases, the oceans have ended up absorbing about 90% of the excess heat that we put into the atmosphere. So oceans around the world are warming and are projected to continue warming into the future. This has major ramifications for marine ecosystems that support fisheries. And we're also seeing changes in terms of reduced oxygen, increased sea level around the world, declines in Arctic sea ice, and increased storminess, particularly tropical storm development. So all of these changes have implications for fisheries, whether it is through changes in the ecosystem that affect marine resources, direct effects on infrastructure, or direct effects on access to fishing grounds and safety at sea. Next slide, Claire. So essentially, climate impacts on fisheries are being felt through ecosystems. They're being felt in how fisheries operate on the water, through secondary actors in fishery systems beyond the harvest sector, so the supply chain and sellers, and this takes many different forms in different fisheries around the world, and is permeating into fishing communities. So next slide, Claire. So all of these changes are affecting fisheries at many scales, whether we're talking about small scale fisheries or large industrial fisheries. And through these effects, it's altering our ability to pursue and achieve sustainable development goals. So the UN Ocean Decade is not just about ocean science. It's about ocean science to support the achievement of sustainable development goals. And through FishSCORE, we have connections not only to SDG 14, which relates to healthy marine ecosystems and life below water, but also thinking about how those marine ecosystems support other goals like reducing poverty, reducing hunger, supporting good health and well-being, supporting equitable benefits of fisheries and marine ecosystems. So across a suite of sustainable development goals, we are trying to position activities for FishSCORE to be effective and to address those goals from multiple different angles. So next slide, Claire. So the Ocean Decade Program, as I mentioned, the core vision is to develop the science we need for the ocean we want. So the mission is structured around developing ocean science solutions that support sustainable development and that help connect people to our oceans. And so this mission encompasses certainly research, but also activities related to how we do engagement, how we make that research actionable and useful, and education, capacity building, other types of activities that align with the mission and the goals of the decade. So the decade is structured around 10 ocean challenges that are then honed to specific objectives. And to support both of those, they have been endorsing a number of actions. Actions can include programs like FishSCORE, which are meant to be sort of global in nature and connect other projects and activities related to the same theme. The actions can also be projects. So you'll hear from several projects today that are already affiliated with FishSCORE, and there will be opportunities for project attachment as we move forward into the Ocean Decade, but also project development that may not be endorsed through the Ocean Decade framework. And actions can take other forms as well. So contributions could include workshop sessions or conferences or other types of activities. But we're going to focus on the FishSCORE program right now. I'm going to hand it over to Claire, who's going to tell us more about this particular program.
Thanks, Kathy. And thanks everybody for your time here. So the FishSCORE program is built on a few specific objectives that we'll hope to develop, and we'll revisit over time as we go through the program to make sure that we're achieving all those things that Kathy just talked about. So one of the first things that we would like to do, and hoping that this kickoff webinar will start to facilitate this happening, is to build a global network to facilitate information exchange, foster learning, and advance approaches to achieve climate resilient fisheries. And I'll talk a little bit more later about the different things that we'll do to help build that. We'll hope to support existing and emerging efforts to enhance resilience of marine ecosystems, fisheries, communities, navigating the impacts of climate change. And some of that will happen through on-the-ground efforts that are already happening. Some of them might be new efforts that we hope to either provide a forum for getting the message out or sharing what you're doing, or to be able to use that network that we will develop through the first objective to provide expertise in different areas where people might want that. The third is to co-develop information and tools for assessing climate impacts, for vulnerabilities and capacities to enhance resilience. And there are existing tools and frameworks out there, and where those make sense in different communities and different local and regional areas to apply, then we hope to be able to provide those. And where there's existing efforts that have information and frameworks that are working, we hope to be able to share that with other regions as well. And to that end, we also hope to apply frameworks and tools and fishery systems around the world and use the insights from those experiences to iteratively improve tools and resources. So that is part of some synthesis work that we'll be doing to bring together folks, learn what they're learning as they're applying frameworks and tools, and then be able to improve that. And then finally, to further the development of scientific foundations and implementation approaches needed to achieve healthy marine ecosystems, vibrant fisheries, equitable benefits in the context of climate-driven changes for the world's oceans. And that speaks back to having this program speak to the Sustainable Development Goals in hopefully a very meaningful way. Let's see. Oops, sorry about that. So the FishSCORE approach is based on multi-dimensional, voluntary and collaborative work. And so the two figures here, I'll go back and forth a little bit between. So this figure on your right you'll see that our core principles are based on inclusivity and diversity, equity, co-leadership, knowledge, co-ownership, and reciprocal benefits. And so everything that we do through developing a network, through talking with folks about projects that are ongoing with what they're doing, to developing new projects and new efforts, those will be the core principles that guide the work. And then moving into the work of engaging partners, scientists, fishery participants, folks that are very knowledgeable about fisheries and policy, and both understanding current efforts and what's working, what's not working in those efforts, and starting new efforts. And with that, moving over to this figure on the left here, understanding that fishery systems are multidisciplinary, intertwined between socioeconomic, ecological, and governance systems. And within all those three dimensions, there's different things that show how much they can change and how much they cannot change based on people's agency, assets, flexibility, organization, learning, and assets. And so then moving back over here to the figure on the right, hoping to develop direct outputs and synthetic outputs with that key outcome as that goal of FishSCORE to develop climate resilient fisheries that promote sustainability, equity, and agency, and hoping to further that in a very meaningful way by 2030. If you'd like to learn more about what the approach is, Kathy and some of our other partners and advisory board members put out this paper down at the bottom, co-production of knowledge and strategies to support climate resilient fisheries. And that details the approach a bit more. So we are certainly not the only program of the Ocean Decade. There are many other programs, and I really encourage you to go on to oceandecade.org to learn more about them and how the different ones might apply in different ways to the work that you're doing. And certainly the work that we're doing has a lot of overlap with some of the programs as well. And every 6 months or so, there's a call for new actions. And so new programs are always coming on board, and we'll always be looking to engage with new ones as they come up. So some of the programs that we've been working with closely already, Supreme program that's working on ocean modeling and ocean data, SmartNet, the Blue Foods Future, and then the Early Career program. And we also have currently 4 projects that are aligned within the Ocean Decade with us, and you'll be hearing a little bit from each of them, and hopefully a lot more from each of them in the coming months when they'll have dedicated webinars for their projects as well. We also, in the next couple of months, the UN will be putting out a call for actions that I think is going to be due in the spring. And FishSCORE is specifically putting out a call for projects to be associated with us. So if you have something that you're working on or a project that you would like to develop, we encourage you to look for that call of action or to contact us ahead of time so we can look out for it. So there's various engagement opportunities with FishSCORE. And this will probably also develop as we develop the program more. The first is a partner network, which will be both a series of webinars and then newsletters, and then opportunities for engagement, both formal and informal, and really hoping to make network members, and there's actually no like membership, but people that are in the network accessible to each other to exchange information. We'll be building off the projects that are already aligned with FishSCORE, as well as developing some projects through the coordination group, and hoping to welcome new projects to come on board, both of new and existing efforts. We'll be developing working groups focused on specific topics related to climate resilience, and that may include science, may include community work, may include management and policy. We'll be hoping to foster leadership, both of early career folks and of really any folks that would like to have more leadership in this topic. And then we'll be hoping to develop management and policy pipelines to enable the uptake of the FishSCORE recommendations over time. So more specifically, ways to get involved. The first is the series of kickoff webinars today. Hoping to have some time to learn a little bit more about your interests and backgrounds. And then we'll be having a more regular seminar series, bi-monthly or monthly, and potentially with some of the other programs as well, to hear more in detail about work that's happening. This winter, we'll be putting out a survey about climate work that's happening, and to know what's happening in different areas, what's working, what's not working. And that'll be part of a synthesis effort down here at the bottom that is comparing resilient strategies across projects and efforts. We'll have a workshop, full-day workshop at the World Fisheries Congress in March in Seattle. We'll also be having a side event at the Barcelona UN Ocean Decade Conference in April. And then we hope to, as I mentioned before, bring on more projects and be able to strengthen more capacity in different areas. So with that, I welcome you to learn more about us. We have kind of a placeholder website at the moment at gmri.org/FishSCORE2030. And within the next week or so, that website will be expanded to include a lot more information. So we'll be sending out an email to everybody here to let you know when that is out. Also in that email, we'll have a post-webinar survey to ask your thoughts about what you heard here, what you didn't hear and you thought you might hear, and to learn how you might want to become engaged in the program. So with that, I will turn it over to our first project. So I'm going to stop screen sharing, and let's see, where did I put my, oh, here we go. And turn it over to Vivian Solis Rivera. And Vivian, are you able to start screen sharing and talk a little bit about your project?
Yeah, let's see if I can share it now. Give me a second. And you see my presentation now? Well, thank you very much, and hello to everyone. I am Vivian Solis. I'm located in Costa Rica, and we have a project that has been endorsed by the Ocean Decade process, and it deals with human rights-based approach applied to ocean conservation. And I am part of a cooperative that it's called Cope Solidar, and we work in Latin America, basically with small-scale fishers. This little draw there to the right, I found in a school in Belize, and I thought it was important to read the first part. We need leaders not in love with money, but in love with justice. And sometimes in regions like Latin America, you feel that conservation has gone only leadered by economic interests. And this has produced some effects in our local communities and indigenous people that are not, let's say, very good for the ocean, neither for their well-being. So we really believe that we have to reroute these initiatives to a more integral perspective of how ecosystems, and in this case, the ocean, is part of the marine territories of life of thousands of local communities and indigenous people. So from Cope Solidar, we have been working with the people of the sea for more than 25 years now. And this means working directly in the territories with them, listening to their real needs, and trying to bring these messages to the policymaking areas or to the global discussions that the world have selected to place the ocean as a priority. So our endorsed process, and I say process because we are unable to work in projects in this region. We really need to chain our actions to be able to have an impact in the livelihoods of these communities, which is not done in a project of 1 year or 2 years. We really need to work in decades in a big process that could really join solidarity and values to support these communities. This project is between Costa Rica and Honduras, and it tries to promote collective action for the implementation of the voluntary guidelines for the sustainability of small-scale fishing in the context of food security and poverty eradication. You know how governments approve documents and objectives and really never hit on the spot. But these guidelines that were approved in 2018 by most governments of the world really hit on the spot, at least in the way that they were framed. In this document that we are trying to implement, there's a clear difference between a stakeholder and rights holders. And this is important for us because rights holders are the ones that are not able usually to exercise the rights that we all have. Example, tenure and access rights, decent work, gender considerations, sustainable use of marine resources, climate change, and other climatic vulnerabilities, and fair and just markets. Most of the communities that are living in the marine territories of life are not able to implement any of these rights that are essential. For example, in a country like Costa Rica, 8 of every 10 small-scale fishers, without including women, are non-formal. That means that they do not have a legal access right to the sea of which they depend. This is something really serious because that means that all these hopes that we have that they could really collaborate with us in ocean is really hard to do when you become a criminal and in your territory and in your marine environment where you have lived for more than 60, 100 years. So there are certain issues that we are trying to mention in this project. Issues related to market emphasis are causing a lot of problem because in this condition of not being able to have, to be able to implement, to exercise the rights, you feel a little bit like this picture here, you know, the tiger, and then you have these vulnerable communities really tied up. Sometimes we talk about nature-based solutions versus an ecosystem approach, putting economic values on nature, but seen from these territories of life, it goes beyond that to be part of a livelihood. You know, small-scale fishing is a way of life, not only an economic activity that communities do for a living. Carbon markets versus fair and equitable markets. Because if you are non-formal, as most of these small-scale fishers, how are you going to be benefit from a carbon market if you cannot have any rights of tenure or rights to the oceans? 30 times 30 versus conservation with people. That means leaving out of target 3 the important aspects related to human rights approach, and science versus knowledge, which is part of what we have mentioned on the Ocean Decade, the need to broaden it up to more knowledges than just the scientific knowledge that we own. So fortunately, we believe that we have time to go back. That clock is going backwards. And there's a lot of potential because of what Claire just mentioned, SDG 14, the targets in the global biodiversity framework, but also common sense. Here I have 2 quotes from fishers from, this is from Costa Rica, the first one, with poverty and inequity, there will be no ocean conservation. And the second one is from Caopa in Africa. We call blue economy blue fear, because they do not understand how they are competing now with bigger initiatives than their livelihoods that they provide. So we can cut a piece of cake in different ways, but the one we have cut it up, as the picture here, has not been the most equitable and the most just. And that means that some part of the people who we have invited to the party will receive less cake than the rest of us. So this project that we are trying to implement deals with this, learning together, sharing together, going to this, or trying to support people from both countries to participate in global meetings and be able also to work in the production of positions coming from the indigenous people, local communities that are small-scale fishers. PSSF guidelines is one.
Thank you
Yes?
so much. I'm gonna have to move on to
But-
the next project.
Okay,
So
now,
sorry.
just let me finish. It can go
Okay.
business as usual, but it can also be right if you use the right tools. And I hope that this project can really support the right tools to be used. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vivian. And so sorry, we're trying to pack in a lot of stuff into 1 hour, and we will have lots of time for each project in the coming months as well. Thank you, Vivian. And now I'll turn it over to Marta Albo for a presentation on the work that they're doing in the Mediterranean.
Hi, can you listen to me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. I will share you very quick. Sorry. So did you see my screen too, no?
Yes, we see it.
Okay. So thank you, Claire, for inviting me to stay here. I am Marta Albo from the Spanish Institute of Oceanography, and I'm coordinating the VADAPES2 project that it's a project that we are trying to analyze the adaptation and mitigation to climate change in the Spanish fisheries sector in order to create tools to prevent maladaptation in the Atlantic and Mediterranean fisheries. So the motivation was that nowadays, as in many other areas in the Spanish fisheries, I'm sorry, the slides are passing. The Mediterranean and Atlantic fisheries are under pressures, not only global, like climate change, but also local, with changes in food preferences, in lack of generational turnover, and so on. And all of this is creating a big challenge of how we increase the resilience of these fisheries socio-ecological systems to climate change at the same time that we transition towards sustainable food systems. No? So having in mind this big challenge, that how to combine both things, the main objective of the project that we are just starting is to assess the socio-ecological resilience of the fisheries sector in order to co-create with all the stakeholders adaptation and mitigation actions. So in a previous project, VADAPES1 was already analyzed the risk of the fisheries at national level, but the measures were very general. So in this new project, we want to scale down these measures. So how we are going to do that? First, we want to determine the resilience attributes of 2 case studies, one in Cantabrian Sea in the Atlantic Ocean in the north of Spain, and the other one in the Mediterranean Sea in the Balearic Islands. So in order to compare to different ecosystems. And we are going to implement the climate resilient fisheries planning tools, some of the steps of this tool, this tool has been recently released by the Science for Nature and People Partnership. So mainly we are going to evaluate the ecological, socioeconomic, governance attributes. We will measure them. And then once they are measured, we will, through participatory activities in workshops with different stakeholders, we are planning to analyze which of these attributes should be reinforced, so which measures needs to be implemented to make these attributes better and increase the resilience. And then the second task will be to analyze the risk of maladaptation in the carbonization measures. So this will be mainly to analyze which are spatiotemporally these areas that can produce lower carbon footprint food products, especially and temporally. So in order to know which are the cost benefits of the fishing activity, not only considering the fuel consumption of the fishing boats, but also the blue carbon they release into the ecosystem. So with that, we hope that we will end up with several recommendations at local level, because we want to scale down these general adaptation measures to the local situation of each of these 2 areas. And we hope that this will contribute to sustain the food system and improve the local food consumption. So if you have any question, please do not hesitate to contact me, and I will be happy to exchange ideas and so on. So also we will we will have a Twitter where in the Twitter we will update the activities that we are doing. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Marta. And now we'll go to a related project who unfortunately could not be here today, but from Marina Sans Martin. And let's see if I can get that video to play for you right now. Do you all see it? Okay. Can you not hear
We
it?
don't listen. No.
Okay, let me try that one more time. I'm going to stop sharing. Sorry about that, folks.
But the audio is great and it's worth waiting for.
It is worth waiting for. It's really, really great audio in this one. Okay.
A great guitarist and philosopher from the inimitable The Clash, once said, "Should I stay or should I go?" This is a critical question in the context of climate change. There are many species moving towards the poles and also towards greater depths. Many fisheries are navigating farther distances and setting their nets at greater depths. What is happening at regional scale? What's happening in the Mediterranean Sea? Species cannot go farther north and they are stuck. One key international tool are marine protected areas. In some of these areas, fishing is forbidden. They are called marine restricted areas. However, none of them are designed with climate change in mind. Can you believe it? Neither are the current fisheries policies, nor the networks that these marine protected areas conform. This is exactly the goal of the CLISARTUS project. Using the models that will combine different sources of data, we aim to create and provide climate-smart strategies. We're going to integrate 3 types of data. First of all, fish density and fish size of species inside of these marine protected areas from divers that have been diving for so many years in these protected regions. Second, the fishes catches from ports close to these protected areas. And third, the velocity of the climate change, which is based in historical spatiotemporal data of temperature. Combining all this data, we can provide not only how fast is climate change changing, but also towards which direction are species expected to move. Once we have all this knowledge, we will include them in decision-making tools that will help us maximize the benefits, the social economical benefits, as well as the benefits of the biodiversity. Our CLISARTUS project will provide climate-smart strategies, making the Mediterranean Sea a better place for the fish, but also for the people. The science we need for the ocean and the fisheries we want.
All right, thanks everyone for that. Now I will turn it over to Paul Watts, who will be presenting some work that's going on in the Philippines. Paul, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Claire. Is that coming through?
Not yet.
Screen.
There we
Good.
go, Paul. We can see your screen, not the slides yet. There we go.
Okay, great. Thanks for the opportunity to be here, Vivian. I really heard your message about rights-based approaches, and I think that's something we're trying to do in the Philippines as well. So I put a message in the chat box for further background. I'm just going to run through some brief points, recognizing our time's pretty limited today. We're looking at the linking of demersal and pelagic socio-ecological approaches because they're very separate in the Philippines, and there's, especially in the North Philippine Sea and the South Philippine Sea, a great dependence upon tuna. And so we're looking at that linkage and how it relates to MPAs in the demersal fish area. And it's kind of a secondary goal, looking at how to do transferability to the Inuit cultures in the high Arctic of Canada, based upon science that's been conducted, but the partnerships haven't been developed. And I think that's the big thing that we're really building upon, is our partnerships. In terms of resilience, we're trying to bring in sort of a harmonized approach to set up common goals for a common future, and use the Satoyama initiative resilience indicators, although there are others that will probably adapt. And so thinking about resilience in terms of restoration, socio-ecological production, and education. In Aurora, we have a situation where the province is one of 4 that shares the Sierra Madre Biodiversity Corridor, as well as the North Philippine Sea, leading out to what was known as the Benham Rise or the Philippine Rise. And that includes an area that we call the Tuna Triangle, where the largest concentration of larvae is in the Philippines for tuna, and looking at the idea of an offshore MPA. While in the Arctic, it's really the large marine ecosystems associated with the coastal communities that really define the Inuit culture that we're focusing on. So we're looking to establish collaboration agreements on an ongoing basis, and we've got you can see some of the partners that we have, and it's really the partnerships that are driving us now, and that includes our fisherfolk and Indigenous friends and partners as well. The approach to the fisheries culture in a bioregional way was something we really worked on for many years with support from USAID, and we looked at a large number of fisherfolk across the complete bioregion to study how the culture is in terms of being interested in collaborative approaches, and that work's now out and available, or has been out for some time. And as well, to do this in the Philippines, where there's very strong local approaches to mandates, you need a really development communication strategy that extends across governments, national government agencies, local government institutions, etc. So we did a project on that initially to start the ball rolling, and we've held several bioregional forums. And this is a fisheries that affects the food security of 10 million people, and it's being shared, but without any agreements in place as to who is how that's partitioned. So our background, Dr. Pajaro, our executive director, helped to start the National Alliance of Fisherfolk Marine Protected Area Managers. We got some eco-health practitioner recognition for that group. And now we're down to looking at the institutionalization of our approaches and how that can fit into socio-ecological approaches on a global scale, and have been working quite a bit with the Satoyama initiative. In terms of milestones, we were recognized by the World Health Organization for our maternal work. The fisheries in the Philippines is characterized by maternal fisherfolk having very low levels of nutrition, and something we're very interested in, as well as the professionalization of CRM and the use of social artistry as a communication process. In Aurora, we've really done a ridge to reef because the people are utilizing the resources from ridge to reef. And so the fisherfolk are also up in the upland forest area and have some agriculture, and really the country is designed that way. So it's that's part of our provincial prototype in Aurora. And the Philippine government has supported us through the development of our training regulations and partnered with us in a very glacial approach to developing curriculum, but little by little we're getting there. And to get it up to the diploma level, we have to work with tertiary education partnerships. So in the TESDA, or the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, is the agency we work with, and we're really focusing now on the promulgation or the spreading out of the curriculum guidelines, and then the implementation, which is a really huge process because of the way the country works and the local government code. And in the Arctic, really, we don't have those partnerships, and it's so much more expensive to work. So it's very, very hard to do this work in the Arctic, but we have outlined the per capita consumption from the marine environment for the entire Inuit culture, and looked at that in terms of the United Nations declarations on the rights of Indigenous people, getting back to your point, Vivian, and rights-based approaches. And that's it for me this morning. Any questions would be welcome.
Thanks, Paul. We're going to hold questions till all the projects, but please write them down so you remember them. And we'll turn it over to our last project today. Joseph, are you on and able to share?
Paul, you might want to stop screen sharing, just so you know you're still screen sharing.
Yeah,
Oh, you're trying.
Yeah, I'm very trying. Yeah. I can't seem to get back into my Zoom here. Why is that?
I think I can get it here.
Kick me out.
Yeah. Okay, doing it.
The only thing I can do is hit leave meeting. Oh.
Okay, can you all see me now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And Joseph, let's see, I can't see folks now. I would love to hear from you, but if you're not able to present, I can show this slide for the project that's being led by the Kenyan Marine Fisheries Research Institute. They've been doing work for a very long time, looking at the Western Indian Ocean and how productivity is changing with differences in upwelling and downwelling, doing a lot of ocean modeling to look at the effects on nutrients distribution, food supply, shelter, and larval distribution, specifically of tuna, but also other large pelagics. And then they're also looking at that as how that's impacting the fishery and the fishery systems as well. So we're excited to have that project as well, built on many years of work. So let's see, I will stop screen sharing now and turn it over to Kathy's going to put us into breakout rooms. We'll have about 10 minutes to talk a bit about questions that you all have, ideas that you might have as the program moves forward, and how you think you might want to be involved in the work. So we're back, everyone. Sorry for, I'm sure it was abrupt ending in at least a couple of the rooms. Hope everyone was able to share and get some feedback and meet some new folks that they might want to be involved in. So sensitive to time, we have 1 more minute, but want to open it to the floor. If anyone had any question to ask to the group, or anything that came from your breakout group that you'd like to share, go ahead, Andy.
Thank you. I'd just like to share from the breakout group, a lot of people working on small scale fisheries and artisanal fisheries. The issues of how climate change will impact freshwater fisheries as well as marine fisheries was raised, and I think is really important, because there will be a lot of similarity but not complete alignment in terms of the tools and methods and impacts. So I think that's worth considering. And then I think there's a lot of interest in people connecting to one another across the this FishSCORE community. So thank you for that. And I do have a hard stop, so I need to leave, Kathy. Thank you very much.
And I'm sure a lot of folks do. So If there's other things that you would like to share, please send them along to Kathy or I. And you should all have my email from the invitation or it being on the Evite. We'll be sending out an email to summarize what we've heard of the 2 webinars and from the breakout groups in the next week or so, with also an announcement that the website has been revised and has a lot more information for you all to understand where we're going and how to get involved. There is right now a sign-up link on that website. If you did not get an email directly from me, but had this forwarded, but would like to get direct emails, go on there now, gmri.org/FishSCORE2030. And we'll also have a post-webinar survey to get your feedback on what was presented here and how you might want to be involved. So thanks so much, everyone, for signing on and giving us your time. And we hope to foster the network as the program continues. Thank you.
Thank you.